So, first question. What does being a boss lady mean to you? What are some of the things that your younger self can learn from the women you have become?
I think a boss lady to me is somebody who you don't wait for anyone to give you permission to be awesome.
Right.
You're not sitting around waiting for someone to hire you. When you see a problem, you be the solution. I think a boss is having a clear vision. And sometimes the vision is not clear, but you make it a point to remove the clutter.
Right.
Make sure the vision is clear, and then you execute. You set a plan. And I think a boss lady also inspires other people to become bosses as well.
Right.
I think that especially the one, like, it's even hard saying woman because I still view myself as, like, not a woman yet. Just like a young, I'm not a teenager, it's that in between.
Like a young adult. Yeah, you're trying to find your way.
Yeah,
trying to figure out where you belong.
But it's just amazing the young adult that I am today, because in high school, my younger self, I never thought I would be doing anything that I'm doing. When I was in high school, I only wanted to be an actress. So I went to high school in Colorado, and I was like, you know what? After graduation, I'm not going to college. I'm just going to go back to LA, and somebody's going to see me walking down the street, and then they're going to want to put me in their movie, and then that's how I'll become a star. And unfortunately, a lot of actors think that. I'm just going to come, I'm going to go to certain parties, I'm going to network and be around certain people, take the right photos. And I tell you, like, acting, especially entertainment, it is one of those professions that if you are not called to it, you will lose so much of your own identity and so much of your time, and most importantly, so much money.
Right.
But my parents were like, you know, you're going to college, regardless.
Right.
So they told me I had to go to community college since I didn't apply anywhere. So I went to Santa Monica College. Because I was, like, in high school, I was a party promoter, so I partied every weekend. And because I was back in LA living with my dad, I didn't have those distractions anymore. So I was able to earn, like, 7 scholarships. And then I transferred to Long Beach State University to get my bachelor's. And then I went straight to USC. But in that time, like, you find your gifts. I feel like we get so much pressure as children, as adolescents, to, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right, or go down a certain path. Sometimes they push you like, this is what you're called to do, or this is what we think you should do.
And life doesn't happen like that. The same way you're talking about, you know, their career of what they're going to do, like, you forget there are so many hiccups in life. Like, what happens when you have a death in the family? What happens when one of your parents loses their job? Like, you don't prepare for those things.
Right.
But you want to give someone a blueprint, and these blueprints really affect people because we feel like we do something wrong. And I would just say a boss lady recognizes that life happens.
Right.
And that when life happens, I will take that time to recover and be okay. Because I feel like when you don't take care of yourself, that's how we get a lot of dictators. That's how we get a lot of people who micromanage. That's how we get a lot of people who dim their own light, that don't want to be a boss anymore because it's so much pressure, and it's because you don't know how to manage it. So a boss lady is not just, you know, wearing cute outfits and making cute posts for social media and having brunches and stuff. It's a mentality. It's a mindset. So I would say that you have to recognize that your gifts will find you along your journey, because I became a poet when I was a junior in college. It was my first semester at Long Beach. It was a rough transition.
Right.
Very rough. Going from having a lot of friends to community college of no friends to now I'm living in the dorms. Everyone thinks I'm a freshman, but I'm a junior. So, you know, I got girls looking at me crazy, dudes trying to talk to me. It was a very, like, hard, it was a rough period, but I found my voice out of that. I found something I thought good I was okay. But I never thought I would perform it for people. And then I just did it one time, and I got a standing ovation from the same girls who would talk trash about me. My haters stood up for me and clapped for me. And they waited to talk to me afterwards, but I just never made eye contact, and I think they picked it up and they left. But that gave me my haters actually gave me my indication that you're really good at this. And I was like, oh snap, I'm good at poetry? Because in high school, I never thought I was that deep. I was like, you know, poets, when I thought of poets, I thought of Lauryn Hill and Erykah Badu. I was like, I am
some
not
of the
that
most
deep.
influential women,
Right.
by the way.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not that deep. I can't be a poet. And it was like, whoa, people are affected by my words. Like, someone told me, like, this guy, he was like 6'6", like 250. He came up to me after a show. He was like, yo, you made my stomach hurt. Like, just the fact, not even touching someone, but my words touch you.
Right.
Like, that is just like, oh my goodness.
Poetry, you didn't think that you could be as deep as Lauryn Hill. And I feel like Lauryn Hill, like, that's, like, for me, like, I could never, like, I'd be so intimidated to be compared to her, because look at how successful she's become.
Mm-hmm.
And her music, just her career, and, how far she's gone. I mean, that's something to really be, like, intimidated by, but I feel like you were able to kind of put that aside and just kind of trust God, and you allowed Him to direct your steps. And when you grow up the way that we did, like, in the church, and you're, like, surrounded by so many judgmental people, it's so easy to get discouraged. And what a lot of those people don't realize is that they can be standing in the way of God's purpose,
Mm-hmm.
even if they're your parents, even if they're your friends. Like, if anyone is standing in the way of your purpose, telling you not to follow what God has set. If anyone is discouraging you from following your path, or from, chasing after your purpose, those people are toxic to you. Like those people don't belong in your life.
And I think, unfortunately, sometimes the church neglects spiritual gifts. And if you don't have your own relationship with God, you can make a false idol out of your parents.
Right.
You can make a false idol out of your teachers. You can make a false idol out of religion, where they tell you you have to be a doctor, you have to be a surgeon, you have to be a lawyer. I was discouraged from going into arts and entertainment. I was discouraged from being an actress. I was told to have a backup plan. Even as a poet, a lot of my gigs that I get come from churches. And sometimes I'm hesitant, because it's like, I know this is a gift, and this is really important. There's a difference between your gift and your talent.
Right.
Your talent is, something you may be good at, but that you work for, you train for to be good at that. A gift is something God gave you that was prepackaged, ready to go. And it requires the least amount of effort, but it has the most impact. And so acting is my talent, but poetry is my gift. And so I just feel like I don't fit in anywhere. I'm too secular for church, but then I'm too, godly for the secular world.
Right.
So when I go to churches and I speak, now it's becoming a thing to have spoken word artists come to church, but
it's unexpected. It's a little bit
unexpected.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? And I had to get to the point where it was like, I don't answer to you. I answer to God. And when God gives you an assignment, you pay a penalty when you don't do what He says to do, because someone needed to hear what you needed to say in that format. I talk about abstinence, so do a lot of pastors. People understand it when I spit it in a poem compared to someone, beating it over your head behind a pulpit.
Right.
Same message, it's just the delivery. And I think what everyone should understand is, in finding your gift, God will give you your gift, and if you don't feel like you have one, to ask Him for it, but you have to be very mindful and careful that whatever I'm doing, it's a form of delivery.
Right.
You are delivering something to someone. And so I would not fear your parents, I would fear God. Just like Jonah. He had a deliver a message. He chose not to. And
he had to pay the consequences for it.
And not only him, there are so many people who suffer because of your disobedience.
Right.
So
and you don't
many
realize
people,
that.
You don't. So many people suffer because of your disobedience. So you got to get to the point where, regardless if this is a new form of talent, if this is a new form of ministry, I can't be concerned with that.
Right. What people will say. Because I feel like a lot of the younger generation, I feel like a lot of things tend to... Well, I'm like a little... Mm-hmm. I'm not that young anymore. But a lot of things tend to kind of go over your head when the pastor's preaching. You're like, okay, like you're older, you don't get it. But when you see someone in your age group or someone that's just a little bit older than you telling you the same thing... I think it kind of, it wakes you up a little bit. You're like, you know what? Let me just see what this girl has to say. Maybe, she's had an awakening or some kind of a conviction that maybe I haven't gotten yet.
Mm-hmm.